Atleti, Lyon, Roma, Inter, they still wish it was summer.
Barca come out on top in Basque Bonanza.
Ronaldo finds a target as Douglas Costa is inducted into the Spitting Hall of Shame.
And Zlatan puts Toronto on the map. They are all topics on today's Football Crazy with Des Norris, myself, Kay Murray and Kevin Egan. And the band are back together for the first time in what seems like forever.
It's been too long. It's been too long. On the last podcast, Des and I spent way too long talking about Pamela Anderson.
I know. I was going to berate you guys for this, slap the wrists as well, but I will let you off.
There's no more. Now. Yeah, the timeline of Pamela Anderson and football chat is over.
Okay, so I'm glad you got the last squeeze out of it.
Let's start off talking about
Pamela Anderson.
Pamela Anderson.
Which footballer would go out with Pamela Anderson?
Let's start by talking about La Liga, shall we? And let's start by talking about Atleti, who have not had quite the start that they would have hoped at this point of the season.
Which Baywatch character would you compare it? Sorry. Okay.
See what I have to put up with here? See what I have to put up with?
David Hasselhoff, Diego Costa.
While people maybe were enjoying their Baywatch-style holidays during the international break, others were hoping that some teams' form might have picked up. That wasn't the case for Diego Simeone's Atleti. Up against Eibar at the weekend, it was a draw.
Guys, I am getting destroyed. I'm driving into work today and I go on Grumpy Pundits on Sirius XM every Tuesday to talk a little La Liga, and I'm driving in today and they're talking about Atletico Madrid and they start laughing at me as I'm listening in my car, saying this is the guy, Kevin Egan, who said that Atletico Madrid are going to win the league this year. I was convinced they'd be so much better, yet this is the worst start under Diego Simeone.
Yeah, it got worse again.
It did, and it got even worse just from the start of the game, because if you'd seen their training this week, it all pointed to Godin not starting, and he's looking to rest a few players because they've got the Champions League coming up next week and they're away to Monaco. Then just before the game, Lucas pulls up with stomach pain, has to go to hospital. So Godin has to come in anyway, so even the plans that he's made for this game don't go his way. So that's already just going against them and everything that they've got going on for them right now. And then Sergi Enrique scores in the 87th minute. Kev Egan was around my house with his wife the other morning because we had a little breakfast club and went for a run in the morning before work. And I said, oh, look at this. Enrique's just scored against Atleti. And then the young Borja Garces, 19 years old, off the bench, comes and saves them by getting them a point. A young player who idolises Fernando Torres.
And was it just me or did Simeone look absolutely elated after the game? Well, he was going around patting his players on the back, delighted with himself.
Yeah, putting on a brave face.
Are they out of the title race already?
I think so.
7 points dropped in 4 games.
1 win in 4.
Yeah, and hardly against, the mightiest of competition. I mean, they played Valencia, lost to Celta, dropping points to
Eibar home is inexcusable. Look, you can talk about Balados, you can talk about Mestalla, but Eibar at home, I'm sorry, that's a shocker of a result.
Yeah, and Eibar had 2 losses but then 1 before the break. Now,
so spinning off from this,
I know,
Antoine Griezmann
says he eats at the same table as Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo.
He doesn't eat their breadcrumbs, Kay. He doesn't eat their breadcrumbs. He's done nothing to deserve a comment like that.
Well, he said a comment like that. He said it with his own words.
Simeone backed him up as well. Simeone backed him up last week, saying this is a guy who's won 2 big trophies. Won 3 trophies last season. Yes, you win the Europa League, you win the World Cup. The World Cup?
What is
What's
it?
it called again?
What's that trophy? The World Cup. Yeah, listen though. In fairness to him, I think it's going off from the point that there aren't the French players on the podium that he expected to see at FIFA's The Best Award. So I think a lot of it is bravado, but you can see where comments like this are coming from. Okay, maybe a bit too big to be saying you eat at the same table as those guys, but when you are getting mentioned sometimes in those conversations as being the key player at your club, and we do say that it's a top 3 in La Liga a lot of the time over previous seasons, maybe that's what he means.
See, here's the thing. I don't think he stands out.
It's hard to know, are his words getting misconstrued? These
comments Spanish press does?
Come from us. But it's not in a mix zone. This is a sit-down interview with Antoine Griezmann, so I imagine he picked his words carefully.
Well, he pointed out the fact that a couple of years ago he was on the podium for the Ballon d'Or, having made 2 finals and lost both, and he didn't win anything. He said, and now I win the trophies and I'm not there. The only thing I would say is I don't think you can say that Antoine Griezmann was France's best player at the World Cup. I certainly don't think he was, and I don't think over the past few years he's been their star in a lot of ways, but Oblak, Godin, it's a team effort when it comes to Atletico Madrid, and it's not a case of Ronaldo scoring 50 goals a season.
He's still a big star for them though, and I think that there's a lot of pressure on him at the moment. We're just talking to, we've had Laurie Lindsay in this
Lorelei,
week.
who's Lorelei?
Well, I can't even get my words out. Anyway, it's been great to have her here at beIN Sports, a former US women's national team player. And she was explaining, obviously having played in a World Cup final and being a part of the squad in a World Cup final, just how hard it is, the come down that comes after playing in a World Cup competition. And they were the runners-up in the
2011.
team 2011, and this is a winner in Antoine Griezmann. So we want to push her on that tonight. We're going to have her on the locker room and talk about that, because she's been sticking up for Griezmann, saying there's a lot of pressure on him at the moment. So I think with him, you know, I'd rather my player be saying things like that than not saying things like that. And to be fair to him, he did live in the same city.
Should
as
he be
Ronaldo,
on the podium though, Kay?
So maybe
For
he
you?
has eaten at the same table as him in Maison Chistu
yeah, maybe that's
or
what
Donna
he was talking
Sierra.
about.
Should he be on the podium for you?
I wouldn't argue if he was on the podium.
Kay is sitting firmly on the fence. We get off the fence on football crazy. For me, absolutely not. I don't think he's on the podium for the Ballon d'Or. Des, what do you think? And let us know what you guys think as well. Use the hashtag football crazy. Get involved in the conversation.
FIFA the best.
FIFA the best. We went through this the other week.
I think Messi is ahead of him. I do. And Messi didn't make it. And it's tough to argue.
And it's this
against Mohamed Salah,
forward players the whole time.
Correct.
You know, at least Luka Modric has made a bit of an impact this year. But yeah,
I was delighted to see Modric there. It's tough to argue against Salah. It's really tough to argue against Ronaldo.
Look through the French team. There's Mbappe. There's Kante.
Mbappe was the one for me.
Umtiti. Like all these players had a better World Cup.
Mbappe won the league.
Yeah, but then I suppose then looking at still what he's done over the course of the season, you can still see his argument. Listen, I'm getting splinters in my backside right now on this fence.
We're giving Atleti far too much time.
Let's move on to talk about Barcelona. Now, they were up in Anoeta playing against La Real, and that has been a bogey ground for them, as we know. And they
brand new Anoeta.
Looking
they shiny.
Snapped that 7-game winless streak there in La Liga last time around. But on top of that, remember, Barcelona often have problems coming back from the international break. But that wasn't expected to be a problem either, because Ernesto Valverde had many more of his players than you would usually have during an international break.
Because Spain doesn't want their players anymore.
No, that's a big part of it as well. But it did seem as though that curse was returning at the beginning of this game when Elizondo got the opening goal.
Nice goal too. Really nice goal. It's a great place to watch a game. I think I'm a bit of a closet Real Sociedad fan. I just love some of the younger players, that the likes of an Odriozola, who's now at Real Madrid, Mikel Oyarzabal further forward. I love watching them, and they're a good team. And yet people who sound surprised and seem surprised by the fact that they gave Barcelona a game don't watch a lot of Real Sociedad or La Liga. I am shocked though that at this stage of his career, you take Sergio Busquets out of Barcelona's midfield, and that is a massively inferior side. He does everything for them, and you bring him in midway through the second half, a different team, they go on and win it. I thought that was a big turning point.
Definitely, but that says a lot about the bench, the depth that they have now. They brought Busquets on, like you said, Coutinho as well at the same time, and then all of a sudden, game turns on its head. Saying that, preceding the turnaround, Ter Stegen was kept very busy. Yeah. So Barca do look fallible. Has to be said.
Well, they do, and there's actually fans of theirs, and even one of them just this morning asking me, you know, what do you make of this? And it is a big topic on the locker room.
Really? Are they concerned?
Yeah, a lot of the fans concerned. I could go on to read one of them. He said, do you think they can win the Champions League? And I said, well, of course they can win the Champions League. And he said, one of the fans that wrote to me, Joel, who often writes to me, a big Barca fan, and he said, Ernesto Valverde has the tools, but I don't know if he knows how to use them properly. Now, Ray Hudson came off the call on that one the other day, and yes, as you say, Real Sociedad are a really good side in this season. Even though coming into this, there'd been like a winner, draw and a loss for them. It's a nice team to watch play, and they did know how to go out there and give Barcelona a game. So first of all, Ray was talking about how isn't it so weird that there can be a ground like that in football? And we have talked about this before with these players on the panel of the locker room, asking them, does it get into your head? And he said, yeah, it does. But he said, I'm just still, Barcelona are grinding out these results, but they're still not convincing. So that's what we want to bring up. Why? Why aren't they convincing? How are they still managing to grind out the results, though, if everyone's so worried?
This happened beginning last season as well.
Last season, yeah.
So, yeah, by no means were they looking the sharpest they could look, but they were grinding out results. And by the end of the season, things were like running smoothly. So yeah, that's a worrying sign for anyone else in La Liga. But with the likes of Atleti dropping points, Madrid are dropping points, we'll get to now in a second.
How about a shout out for our favourite Ousmane Dembele? Best song ever, I love it.
Yes.
French national anthem. He's been big time this season.
Yeah, scoring the important goals as well.
Yeah.
And I think there's a stat about, I haven't got the stat.
2 game winners.
Is a little bit rusty.
2 game winners this season.
It's the points he's won for them.
He is
4 goals this season so far.
The most effective La Liga player when
Yeah.
it comes to points tallies. So yeah, that's a great
So
start
put him
for
on the
young man.
podium for FIFA the best.
Yeah, Griezmann, move over.
And I think we're all, it's not necessarily us. It seems like analysts and fans throughout the world are dying to jump on Luis Suarez. But he scored again. Not exactly a beautiful tiki-taka style goal. Very, very scrappy.
The most Luis Suarez volley you'll ever see.
He was there
He
at the
still
right
makes
time.
it look
I know,
real
but you know,
grubby,
I
but
can't remember
it's-
the player this week where there's a player who should have scored, and I was just watching it, and Ray and I were talking about it, and he said, you know what Luis Suarez would have done then? He started to use Luis Suarez, explaining how Luis Suarez would have scored that goal, and I said, well, that's why Luis Suarez is at Barcelona, and that's why that player isn't. And so I do love when we do see him, even if it's not at his best, that instinctive striker that he is.
If you're a defender,
it had a whiff of inevitability once that goal went in. It's like Barca are going to win this.
if you were a
That's it.
defender, would you fear going up against Diego Costa or Luis Suarez? Which one?
I'd be
Both. I'd be
yeah,
terrified.
No, come on, pick one, pick one.
Me, Luis Suarez, absolutely,
Yeah?
absolutely, yeah,
Interesting, okay.
yeah.
I'm
Des?
terrified of both of those.
You take them. I've
Yeah.
seen you out in the
Both of those
five-a-side pitch,
scenarios
Des.
scare me.
You deadly dub. No bother to you.
So number 3 in the Basque merry-go-round of the weekend, Real Madrid in San Mamés, another legendary ground,
A classic.
albeit the newer version.
Yeah, a classic ground as well. Did you see that crazy stat about Iñaki
Iñaki
Williams?
Williams hasn't scored at home for
hadn't scored at
2
home in La
seasons.
Liga for nearly 2 years.
Is that the same Iñaki Williams that is better than Ronaldo, according to Phil Shane?
That is the very one. and poor Iñaki Williams should have
And
had the
newly
first goal as well. Newly mustachioed.
Iñaki Williams.
Yeah,
He's got a
Iñaki
moustache.
Williams
Yeah.
should have had it as well, but Ika Munayin made sure to bundle the ball over for the opening goal for Athletic. Isco comes on and scores in the 64th minute, and it makes it 1-1. A lot of talk about why Mariano wasn't brought on, because it's a game where you've brought the striker back. You know he's proven. We saw what he did last season in Ligue 1, very effective. You needed a more direct mindset from Real Madrid to try and get a game winner in that one, and everyone said, that game was begging for him to come off the bench, but Lopetegui explained it later. He said, I thought Gareth Bale needed some cover. And so that's why it was Lucas who came on. But that is something that's been questioned. And you wonder if, he said that now, but I wonder if looking back he thinks maybe I should have looked at that. I mean, he knows more than me, but...
Yeah, there were a lot of question marks hanging over the selection, Real Madrid selection. So Courtois
started. I was going to ask you guys
got
about
his,
that.
got his debut, league debut.
But he got outshone by the opposite goalkeeper.
Did indeed,
Unai Simon. Brilliant performance from him. Big gloves to fill, we say, for Kepa.
That's a cool name,
great
isn't it?
stuff from him. What a great name.
Unai
The young
Simon.
line cub.
Yeah.
Unai Simon.
Yeah, it's quite amazing. So Courtois obviously starting. I suppose he can use the international break as his ready-made excuse. Lopetegui, obviously Champions League around the corner as well.
And with that in
But
mind...
not the only... Before I cut you off.
Yeah, because it's Lopetegui, and because you mentioned Champions League, we got an exclusive with him on Sunday's Extra, and Jamie Easton asked him about the goalkeeper situation, and he said the goalkeepers in my team are like any other position in my team. There will be rotations, and it's a revolving cast. So I want to know who's going to play in the Champions League for them this week.
Can I make a quick suggestion on that? I was thinking about it last Friday, going, if you're Real Madrid and you're going into this game, let's just think and break down this game. It's the one side you'd really look at, Athletic Club Bilbao, and say, we need a tall goalkeeper. We need a goalkeeper who's great in the air, who's going to sweep up crosses. Because you know the way they play, to the strengths of Aduriz.
Aduriz wasn't playing though.
No, but I'm just saying, we know the way they play as a whole, Athletic Club Bilbao. And
Yeah,
they're the type of team...
happy from set piece goals.
They're
strong
so...
on
that we've
corners.
well, for so many years, exactly that. And he's the better goalkeeper in that sense.
Well, I look at this Athletic team, they're a bit different going forward. It's Susaeta, Munyain,
Yeah.
Iñaki Williams, that's more, they're kind
That's
of...
true.
You
That's
know
fair.
that Capello liked tall goalkeepers, but he had to make do with Iker Casillas, and that never did too bad for Real Madrid back in the day. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there were
It's
other...
not all about height, Kev.
In your face,
Just
Kev.
returning to that Real Madrid team sheet, so Dani Ceballos also got a shout. Obviously, Lopetegui and him have a lot of history in the youth ranks.
He's Spanish.
He's Spanish. Didn't
Which is
didn't
only
light
going
the
to add
world
more
on
fuel to
fire.
that fire.
Yeah, came off at half time. There was also Isco starting on the bench as well. Again, Champions League, that has to be underlined. But it is quite interesting to see Isco's reaction to that after, saying he's bears no grudges having to sit on the bench. It's quite a different tone to last season. Am I right?
Yeah, very much so.
So it seems, I think the Spanish players are on side anyway with Lopetegui, so that's something.
Elsewhere in La Liga, Ronaldo, the Brazilian Ronaldo, the proper Ronaldo, as some people would say. I'm only joking. Anyway, Ronaldo is in the stands because he is the president of Valladolid now, and they could have done with him on the pitch. Sadly, they did not manage to win their game against Alaves. Do you know what? This game, if you'd have looked at it going into it, and I'm going to give you a bit of an optic here, the stats did not promise a riveting clash.
No.
Valladolid had only attempted 16 shots, which was at least 7 fewer than any other side in La Liga. And Alaves had the lowest possession figure of any team across Europe's top 5 leagues this season, with just 29%.
Did it finish 0-0?
No, 1-0
Alaves.
right at the end.
Yeah.
Ibai
+3.
Gomez, former Athletic.
And it came from a Valladolid corner, and then Alaves broke. And so,
Yeah.
as I'm saying, maybe Ronaldo should have suited up.
Do you know what? They don't concede many goals, though, and that might give them a chance of actually staying up by the lead. They're the type of team that they won't go after games, but they'll.
I'd say they're going to be down
You
in
reckon?
the mire towards the end of the season.
Believe
Who knows?
in
They could
Ronaldo.
stay up, but I suppose El Fenomeno. Who knows what miracles he can enact.
There was a 0-0 though, in a game that you wouldn't have expected to be a 0-0. Valencia Betis.
Yeah. How did that end up 0-0? That's a game you set aside to watch. Mestalla, Betis on the road. You absolutely want to see that, and then 0-0.
No one looking like either of the sides from last season. There was at one point in the game early on, Betis had 80% of the possession as well. Valencia have also had a strange start to the season for them.
It's true.
It was a strange one. Obviously, Betis had lost to. Betis had beaten Sevilla last time out, so you wondered if that was going to be a bit of a turning point for them. But yeah, that's been a strange start.
It makes for an interesting start to the season in that we thought we had top 4 nailed on, and I have no clue what to make of it anymore. Also in La Liga, Sevilla losing Sunday night, getting trounced by Getafe. Like, you could almost look at Getafe the way they've started and tout them for European football next season.
They're 5th at the moment.
And it's longer under Bordelas, who obviously has already done some very good things with what he's got there. And you know they're always going to be a difficult side to break. And it's with these coaches when they start to get to know that team even better, that they've already had the success with, you know that it's only going to get better for them. I went down an absolute rabbit hole, if you've seen my Twitter feed the other night when I was looking at this game matchup. So on Saturday night I had a look, and Sevilla obviously didn't score in the Seville derby, and then they didn't score in the game before that, and they said that if they failed to score in this next one against Getafe, which did happen, it would be the first time that they'd failed to score 3 in a row since April 2007. And then I just started thinking, wow, remember that team of 06-07 Sevilla, just how strong they were. They beat Barca in the UEFA Super Cup. They won the UEFA Cup then, back to back, Dani Alves era.
Yeah.
And that year, that 07 year, when they actually had that 3 in a row without scoring, they, on the final day of the Liga season, still had a shot of winning it. Had Barcelona lost and had Real Madrid dropped any points, Sevilla, had they won, could have won the league.
So you're saying they should take heart from this?
They should take heart.
Okay, there we go.
No, it's strange though. It is strange for Sevilla. It's not. I don't know. It's not characteristic of them at all. Nor a coach like Pablo Machin, from what we've seen with what he did last year with Girona. It's weird.
It's weird, but he is new. Sevilla's always had a lot of turnover, and eventually that momentum
will
dies
come.
out.
They did get some decisions go against them. Andre Silva was pulled to the ground early on. A Ben Yedder goal pulled back.
Yeah, that was rough.
So maybe it will start going for them. But
we're slightly overextending on our Spain chat.
Right.
We'll just finish off saying Villarreal got their first win of the season.
Back of the net.
Back. of the net. Very
Back
nice.
of the net, yeah. And on your special day.
On my anniversary, on my wedding anniversary.
You did it a few years ago too.
On my actual wedding day,
Oh, is that
scored. So that's why I remembered.
Freaky coincidences.
Yep, so Baka, you've continued to make our marriage a strong one. Thank you very much. The only reason I know that he scored on my wedding day is because I'm married into a family of Milanisti, and back then he was playing for Milan, and there was a big cheer during our dinner, and someone said, "Oh, Baka scored." So yeah, that's how I remember.
Then your husband went back of the net. Get
no,
in.
I gave him that one.
No cheeky puns
That's
on
my
Football
pun.
Crazy today.
Okay, right.
Shall we head
That
across
one
to
died-
France?
That one died a slow death.
I've been working on my
Let's
French
hope my
accent since last
marriage
week.
All right. So there's no Pamela Anderson to talk about, but there are other events in France.
Oh, oui.
that,
Je parle français.
Oui, oui,
Your
oui, oui.
interest. Beginning with
Skip back
last
to Friday.
night's masterclass, the Velodrome, Marseille 4, Guingamp 0.
Worldies aplenty in this game. You may have seen Payet's absolutely stunning goal that made it 2-0. And then after that, Thauvin also scored an amazing goal that probably just didn't get the credit it would have usually got because of what Payet had just done. It finished 4-0, and poor Guingamp have gone 5 games without picking up a single point now.
That's true. Yeah, it's not looking
I'm a little bit
great.
surprised
It's-
Thauvin wasn't more sought after the season he had last year. Remember, he was a flop at Newcastle and he got such a bad time of it in the Premier
He is
League.
a baller.
He's a class player.
He really is.
He's cool as you like as well. He's just.
I mean, he is highly regarded. I think for him going back to Marseille, I think he was happy just to kind of tap into his roots again. He wasn't looking for a big move necessarily. I think he's obviously they missed out in Champions League, but he's going to play every minute he can there. They do have European football, so I think it's the right place for him to be right now.
5 goals so far this season for Florian Thauvin. 5 points.
Top scorer in Ligue 1.
Is he at the moment?
Yeah,
wow.
Dre Cordero touted him at the beginning of the season to
be the
scoop the top scorer award. And
That's because they're going to
Yeah,
share
on
it
this
between
evidence.
the 3 at PSG, right? Most
Yeah.
likely share it up. But
Yeah, it's
PSG
supposed-
played on Friday. No Kylian Mbappe through suspension. No Neymar, who's rested, with obviously one eye keeping an eye on the Champions League midweek as well against Liverpool. And yet no problems at all. And do you know, I'm going to say something about PSG beat Saint Etienne 4-0, I should say that. But I love the fact that PSG spend hundreds of millions on players, yet still bring through academy players. And one of their academy players, a 19-year-old, Diaby, scored. He came off the bench and scored. You've got Nkunku, you've got Timothy Weah as well. He's given chances, Thomas Tuchel, to some young players, while also having some of the biggest superstars on the planet.
I know. I hope when Mbappe comes back from suspension, he gets his chance as well.
He's a young kid. He's got promise.
He's got a lot of promise.
so did you see Neymar and Mbappe in the stands?
Yeah.
Looking pretty suave, the two of them.
Well,
Gotta be said. Especially Mbappe, a 19-year-old in a suede jacket.
Can we add a 19-year-old World Cup winner
Yeah,
with
okay.
a suede jacket? I have to say, I loved the segment on The Extra last week about the coolest teams in world football.
Oh, you're going to bring that up now, are you?
I will bring that up
Okay.
now. Because a few people I still feel didn't quite understand what the whole idea of that
criteria.
was. Yeah, what the criteria was. Like, we're thinking cool, like back in the day, like when the Fonz was cool, you know? It's about being cool.
Like, you're right, though. You think back to Premier League era, who was a cool player? For me, like, Asprilla was a cool player for Newcastle. David Ginola was cool.
Cool
That
as
same
you like.
team.
Yeah.
And the criteria was essentially fun,
JJ Okocha.
winning. You have to have a bit of a swagger. To have a swagger, you have to be winning. You can't have a swagger at the bottom of the league. You have to be. You're good with social media as a club. Yeah, you've got good kits. You know what I mean?
Keeping up with the trends.
Correct.
Yeah.
PSG by far and away was number one with the poll in the office. We asked around the office. Everybody said PSG, partly to do with the Jordan brand Jordan deal that they had announced earlier that day, I think. Then you've got Mbappe, you've got Neymar. You're winning, World Cup winners. Everything
Cool
about
city.
Paris, cool city. You've got Jay-Z and Beyonce showing up to games. You've got Kevin Trapp that was going out with Rihanna. It just makes sense why those young kids these days would like them.
It would have been Leon, but then Pamela Anderson broke up with.
There's a ban on Pamela Anderson talk in this
If Pamela Anderson was
podcast.
going to PSG games, would that make them uncool?
It might be ironic cool,
Yeah,
because it's so retro.
that's true.
Okay,
Can
do you wanna-
no, I don't want to get involved in this one. Can we talk about what's next up for PSG, please?
Do you want to go back to the list,
Yes.
no? Can we just say, in at number 2 on that list was France.
Yeah. go
In
on.
at number 2. In at number 3, US women's national team. Cool team. Love them. So popular. Number 4 was
Man City. in
Man
there,
City.
Right?
Yeah, like Drake Cordero did not like that one at all. He says there's nothing cool about Man City.
But he's really hipster, so
yeah, he wanted like Roma, but Roma aren't winning.
No, but I'm still surprised that he would even want them. You know, I'd expect him to want like.
He was thinking Rayo Vallecano.
Yeah, that's where I'd see.
Or St. Pauli.
Yeah,
that's a different conversation, isn't it?
I think so. And then number 5 was Atlanta United, with everything they're doing right now.
And nothing to do with you either?
Nothing to do with me.
No.
Nothing to do with me. All right, back to the football.
So, like you said, PSG, bit of a test.
Yeah, because you know what isn't cool? Ruining someone's transition. Anyway.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Speaking of transitions, Liverpool, they're good at them, aren't they?
They are good. That was good, Des. That was good.
So, Liverpool, PSG tomorrow at Anfield. It is by far and away the box office draw of the Champions League. First match day. Am I right or am I wrong?
By far and away. It's not even close.
Yeah.
And they're a team that could have made the top 5, by the way.
So I'm going to dive right in and say I'd be worried if I were PSG right now, particularly in their holding midfield role. It looks like Marquinhos is going to be playing that position tomorrow.
I feel like anything we say here, Des, about this game is going to seem like a Captain Obvious type thing to say. Because they're so, like, I feel like I'm worried about PSG. Yeah, Liverpool are amazing. They're class. I feel like Mbappe could be good in this game. Liverpool might get stretched defensively. Yeah, he's really good. Like, it's just going to be one of those wildly entertaining games. There's no chance this could be a bore fest.
Both teams perfect so far in their respective leagues.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there's even that up for grabs. Who gets to keep the perfect run? It's going to be fascinating to watch. By no means is it going to determine who wins the group or who fails to qualify for the round of 16, but it's a great start.
But both are in with a shot at winning this season. So many people will mention both these teams' names. PSG have been building towards that for a while. Obviously, Liverpool made the final last season. So sometimes you're kind of a bit gutted because you get all excited because the Champions League comes back and then you're like, oh, it's just the first game of the group stages, but let's hope it gets off to a good start.
Yeah, but the fact that this group is stacked, right, means that these teams have to, like, who else is in this group again? It's Napoli is in this group, exactly. Yeah. And Napoli are playing some good stuff right now, albeit slipping up a couple of weeks ago. I just think, I was listening to the radio earlier and there was a conversation about the Champions League games and someone said, Juve Man United is by far and away the best one coming up. And I thought, that could easily be 0-0. Whereas this one could easily be 4-3. These are two teams that are going to go after each other, and I'm buzzing for it. I feel
a lot of the time with Liverpool that 4-3 could be a Liverpool result in a lot of games that they play, and including the game that they played at the weekend against Spurs. You know, that had all the ingredients for a classic. You know the way you said when you were growing up in England, Kay, that you became somewhat of a Manchester United fan after Middlesbrough? That was the team you gravitated towards watching. I feel like kids today growing up will say that about Liverpool. It's so funny you said that. So my closest cousin's just had her second baby and she's married to a Liverpool fan, and she sent me a picture the other day with the baby in a Liverpool baby grow, and I started joking saying, oh, Grandpa wouldn't have liked that, he should have got him a Borough one. And I said, you know what, on second thoughts he's going to have a much happier childhood if you keep him in that Liverpool baby grow, so we'll let Dad win this one, shall we? Yeah, that's a fair point.
So yeah, that's a big match of Liverpool. Like you said, beating Tottenham. It could have gone either way. There were shouts for a Tottenham penalty towards the end. Mane taking down, who was it again? Son. But yeah, Liverpool
should have been a penalty.
Yeah. But I think it's not many complaints about who won that game.
Tell you what, can you imagine Jurgen Klopp after that game? 2 goals in injury time, if that was the case. Because Michael Oliver's a wonderful ref, but that was missed. That was he's shooting and he takes his leg out. Like, no,
it's true. Yeah. So jumping back to Ligue 1, a few other results. It's not looking great, is it? Lyon, Monaco, they're all kind of floundering. It's
pretty crap, days. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I was just hoping we'd see Germany, Italy, and France someone compete against the 3 big teams. But right now, 5 points is the difference between PSG and Marseille. Marseille with that big win. Hopefully, Payet and Thauvin can keep going. But for Lyon, they've slipped up too many times this season. But the highlight of the game was a jacuzzi
at the side of the pitch at the Cannes ground. And a couple in that jacuzzi in the corner. And you know what? I have been pitch side so many times in my life, and so often I used to take a fluffy blanket, my Ugg boots, and also like a big ski jacket, and sometimes I was still cold. What I wouldn't have done to have had a hot tub on those games at the side of the pitch. How wonderful that would have been.
But then at the end you have to get out.
No, what if they just like push you in the hot tub inside? You know,
like the grass when they
Like
roll
laying
out
up.
the.
I'm sure if you can afford the hot tub, they'll throw in a few, towels. through
people
the
would
magic.
like push me around, give me, after a marathon with the tin foil.
Yeah.
Maybe one of those. Ah, that would have been. I love that though. Is that going to be the new thing now?
Actually, how funny would it have been if the players had to get in the hot tub, and you had to interview them?
Oh yeah, that would have been awful.
Cristiano
for me back
Ronaldo
then,
here.
as a single 20-year-old girl.
Cristiano Ronaldo now post game joining me in the hot tub.
That's actually just a bit weird though now.
Yeah, well, he'd be all sweaty as well. It'd be disgusting.
I've been on the other end of a sweaty player hug, where like, because you were working so closely with the team, afterwards you see them sometimes and be like, hey, and they'd kind of forget that you were all nice and clean, and they'd get right in, and you just smell it of sweat.
Des will
Wet
tell
dog
you,
afterwards.
no one sweats as bad as me.
I've been told by both of your wives that no one sweats as much as an Irishman.
Oh, we're shocking,
Okay.
Des.
Yeah.
Living in Miami, I'm just constantly sweating. We're in a cold studio right now, guys, if you're listening, and it's
Porous.
freezing in here. So Kay is currently
We're
wearing a
both
jacket.
porous.
But I'm also corporate K today.
Corporate K,
Yeah.
beIN Sports.
So yeah, lots of
what-
draws everywhere else in Ligue 1.
Yeah, special mention for Bordeaux 3, Nîmes 3. Nîmes are quickly becoming my favourite team in the world to watch. But anyway,
What's her name?
Nîmes.
Sorry, that was a bad joke.
Yeah.
Premier League time.
Premier
Shall we?
League.
Do we want to? Can we quickly go back to that Liverpool game and Tottenham, just to talk
Very
about Tottenham
quickly.
very quickly? Have you got a clock on us? You probably
I do,
should.
yeah.
Tottenham Hotspur. What's going on at Spurs right now?
It's almost like they bought no players,
Correct.
and then a lot of their players were busy over the summer playing in World Cup semi-finals.
And then
I don't know.
international duty as well, and they have no one to call on. Was this not the most predictable thing we've seen in a long time? The
And
Premier
they've had a
League.
few off the pitch issues going on as well.
They have. They have.
Yeah, involving their pitch.
And involving their pitch and involving their captain as well.
Yeah.
So there's a few things going on there that might add to it.
I think, yeah, they've punched above their weight for a few years. Harry Kane having a bit of a slump. He was very anonymous in this game. That happens, and then all of a sudden it's crisis, right?
It's all because Harry Kane scored in August.
Yeah.
The world spun off its
Yeah, he's-
axis and things are just going wrong for them now.
Yeah.
It's what it's got to be. So are you happy that we've touched back on them now?
I just feel for Spurs fans. I think this is a missed opportunity. I think it's one of those cases where you get a rare time. And I know, as an Aston Villa fan, and I know Spurs are on a different level right now. However, when we had like Martin O'Neill and we were finishing 3 years in a row, we finished sixth, and we were just on the precipice of making that Champions League spot. Didn't happen. But it's a missed opportunity for Spurs to be so close, challenging for a title. Remember, they were the one closest to Leicester in that run-in, and they ended up finishing third place. To be so close and to not go and spend money this summer when you've got such young, talented players coming through, it's got to be devastating for them to watch the decline. And it will continue to happen unless they strengthen. You can't expect to improve.
Yep, we've spoken about this. You don't buy players
Yeah.
unless you're winning the games. Then it looks like a bad move.
You know who
Unless
didn't
you're
spend a lot of money, though?
Real Madrid under Zidane.
Do you know who didn't spend a lot of money yet? It's worked out quite well. Fresh ideas. Chelsea. Under Maurizio Sarri.
Yeah, there you go.
and
Except the goalkeeper.
Except the goalkeeper. Well, what are you going to do? I think Chelsea will challenge right until the very end this season.
Yeah, they're still perfect. 5 from 5 for Sarri, which is really incredible. Betting in a new league, the best league in the world, so they say.
And
Eden
they went-
Hazard
Some
hat-trick.
sections of
But
the media.
But also, they went down a goal first against Cardiff, and Sarri, he'd struggled with Napoli after international break, so a lot of the Italian fans were watching for that. Obviously, it's a little bit different now, it's a different team as well. But that was something to look out for. But Eden Hazard on the pitch is always going to make a huge
So
difference.
going back to what we were talking about earlier, like Griezmann after the World Cup looking a bit sluggish, whereas you look at Hazard, who he was dropped for the first few games. Sarri obviously, biding his time, waiting for him to be fully fit, and now you look at him, he's unplayable at the moment.
So post-game, Maurizio Sarri talked about that, and he talked about the differences this season. He said, I spoke with Hazard, and I told him, you should be scoring 40 goals a season with your talent. He called him the best player in Europe. He said that straight out, Maurizio Sarri, and he wants him much higher up the field, and that's something that I think we're going to see a lot more of, is Eden Hazard finding himself with chances late in games.
So Sarri said that to him.
Sorry, talked with Eden
Yeah.
Hazard, said you should be scoring 40 goals a game, and he said
A game.
he said after the game 40 goals a game, 40 goals a season.
But it's interesting because Cesc Fabregas has talked openly about Eden Hazard. I think we've mentioned
confidence.
it here, and his confidence. Cesc has said, with my confidence, if I had his ability, I'd be scoring so much more goals. He said it to him. He said, I don't think he knows just how good he is sometimes, and once he does, everyone's in trouble. And they're already in trouble right now.
And we have seen that he is he can go off the boil. Like, he can go off the boil for a season at a time. But when he is on his game,
So we got to get this stat out.
it's terrifying.
It is the third time in top flight history, and the first time. Sorry, so I'll go for this one because this is more impressive. The first time that two clubs have won the 5 opening games of a season since, I think, like 1909.
No.
Yeah, and before that it was 1906. So 2 of them perfect, Liverpool and Chelsea. And
it could have been Watford.
I know.
But it wasn't to be. Manchester United in their
Elements.
strange new kit.
I like it.
Yeah.
Gary Bailey's not having it though. And Gary Bailey's just a little bit old school, I think, had the men in pink.
I'm not against
Gary
pink,
wearing pink.
but this hue of pink just makes it look as if someone left a sock in the washing machine.
I saw your tweet saying that, and it did make me chuckle, but I like it.
It took me a while to figure out, is that white or red or pink? Anyway, it worked. It's effective. It's not the grey kit of the 90s. 2-1.
Or it's not the ice cream kit. Do you remember that one? The yellow and green.
Oh, yeah. That reminds me of Gary
I
Pallister.
had that one. Yeah, I can with the
With the lace.
Yeah, the laces here.
Yeah, the laces.
It's like I remember that.
I remember Villa beat United in the Coca-Cola Cup when they were wearing that kit.
Oh, yeah, on penos. Mark Bosnich, 3 saves. Anyway, that's going way back.
It is. But it was a happy Mourinho.
Yeah, Man United looking all right.
Yeah, he was celebrating the goals and all smiles and having jokes and stuff afterwards. Actually, about Chris Smalling, they asked him about his goal, and he said, the only thing I don't like about Chris at the moment is his hair. So he's even like pulling out the bants in the post-match press conference as well.
It was a great goal as well by a central defender.
Manchester City cruised past Fulham. The big talking point here, I think, was Sané. Back in the team, and it didn't take him long, inside 2.5 minutes to score for Man City. And Pep Guardiola speaking about him afterwards as well, going, we never doubted his talent, not for 1 second. It's just the mentality and getting him back out, get him playing well, which he did.
We'll see plenty more goals from Sané. Excellent player. Not the only one at City. David Silva also getting on the score sheet.
Class goal.
Becoming.
It was his 50th Premier League goal.
Yeah. Becoming only the 5th City player to reach that milestone. 50 goals.
What a player, David Silva.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll get
What a guy.
I don't think, yeah, exactly. I don't think he'll get the credit long term, like the legacy, because of the incredible Spain team that he was part of and the incredible Man City team. When you're mixed in with all those great players and you're trying to compete with an Iniesta, say, or a Xavi years ago, and now at Man City as well, I hope he'll be considered as one of the greatest Man City players, if not the greatest ever, when he does decide to walk away.
I don't know if it's Soccer AM. It's one of those fun kind of digital soccer sites where they ask a professional player to name their five-a-side team, who they'd pick out of players they've played with. It doesn't matter what team. And I can't remember who it was the other day, but I remember someone talking about David Silva the other day, and I feel like that's another thing. Players who've actually played with him, they would probably forevermore, until they're old men, be talking about how important and the legacy that David Silva left. So yeah, class.
A player's player.
A player's player, absolutely.
Should he be in contention for the Ballon d'Or? Is that what you're saying?
Should he be on the FIFA the best list?
I'm just asking questions. That's what I come here to do.
Just asking the important questions. Anyway, better move on. We're lagging a bit behind. Very quickly, elsewhere in the Premier League, Arsenal won. Granit Xhaka scored, annoying Arsenal fans the world over, because now he's going to be in the team sheet for the next game, for sure.
Torreira coming off the bench again. It seems to be a common theme. Every time he comes off, they score, they do well when he's on the pitch.
Things get better.
Yes.
Maybe he should take note.
There must be something going on. I'm sure Unai Emery has him earmarked as a player he does want to feature more regularly. But who knows? It could be a case of just
Burnley were bitten by the wolves.
How about Raul Jimenez? El Tree star, beautiful goal for Wolves. Lovely little celebration as well. Good to see him doing well.
Yeah, set up by Doherty. Bit of Irish hope, Kev.
Yeah.
Good Lord, we need some.
Burnley still
We
without
should
a
have a
win in
ban
the
on Tottenham
Premier
Ireland.
League. Their worst start in the top flight in 90 years, 1 point from 5 games.
The Ginger Mourinho.
Haven't won in 16 games. Rough.
Rough,
Anyway,
rough.
we'll
West Ham
finish-
hadn't won at all, and they did win. They hadn't even got a single point, but they beat Everton
That's
at the
true.
weekend.
Yeah.
And Arnautovic was great. But yeah, we can wrap up there, I reckon. Yeah.
Okay. So over in Italy, there was
You can
there
snore
was-
yourself, you.
there was a landmark event. Juventus played Sassuolo,
Yeah.
and everyone's talking about it.
Yeah.
Douglas Costa spat at someone.
Yeah.
That's all there is to say,
No.
right? Nothing else happened in
No.
that game, am I
I
right?
don't want this negative story outweighing the big story.
Federico Di Francesco is fine. He just wiped the spit off his face, continued playing. No problems there.
Chiellini was dropped. That was a big story as well.
Yeah,
Benatti alongside Bonucci. I don't know what else happened, Kay.
No, me neither.
nothing else. right?
Sassuolo were the second team going into it, though. Yeah, so it was first
They
against
were,
second.
yeah. And La Liga.
Oh, Emre
and,
Can got his start.
and a La Liga legend was featured in this game.
Dybala started. That was
Kevin
a bigger
Prince
story.
Boateng.
Kevin Prince Boateng.
But he didn't score.
Dybala started.
Yeah,
Yeah,
loads
that's happened.
happened in that game then, didn't it?
Yeah.
Juve with the most boring midfield put out ever.
Oh, Mattia De Sciglio was injured in the warm-up, so Cancelo had to come in.
That was
Aren't
the big
Khedira and
problem.
Emre Can the same person? That was finally figuring out
Have you
that
ever seen them?
Khedira and Emre Can are not the same person. They're the exact same player.
Yeah, it was that Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
but there's
so
nothing else
that's-
happened.
Not
I
really,
think that's all that happened in that game.
Oh, Ronaldo scored!
Oh, did he?
That's what it was. Ronaldo scored.
Ronaldo scored. Just the
Yeah.
one?
No, he scored 2. Ronaldo scored 2. Do you
did.
remember Ronaldo?
The guy who
Should he have made the FIFA's best list?
Griezmann.
How funny are we?
Yeah, Vance.
Cristiano Ronaldo gets his first brace for Juventus. And Kev, I'm going to let it be up to Kev now, because you called it at the weekend. You were talking about the number of shots it took him
Yeah.
to get his first goal in La Liga last year.
4 games. It was in his 4th game, his 28th shot of the season. And sure enough, although there's conflicting reports on this, some outlets are saying it was his 4th game and 27th shot of the season. Others are saying 4th and 28th.
Oh, that will just be Marker wanting to be different to everybody else.
So what are you
like
saying, Kate?
usual. Let's go with the 28 because we like that
So
story
exact
better.
same, yeah.
We like the symmetry.
So he's not on the downside at all. Ronaldo's going to
No one said he was, Kev.
Yeah.
No one said he was.
Yeah, Juve still perfect.
Yeah, he got an easy finish for the first one, right-footed. So then when he hit the next one with his left foot, I was like, oh, let him get the header and a perfect hat-trick. But it wasn't to be. And Douglas Costa stole all the headlines for his unbelievable actions during this game. There was an attempted elbow, an almost headbutt. He was very feisty, and then it ended with that spit on Federico Di Francesco. He came out afterwards, apologised for his over-the-top actions. Allegri said he will be fined, but he didn't apologise. I don't know if he has today yet. He didn't apologise to the player.
Still pending.
What?
So it's very out of character because Douglas Costa doesn't strike me as
Not
Me
at all.
neither, no.
that type. So
That's
It
why
was
I was
a-
like,
I thought-
what's
I
he
wonder what
doing?
was said.
I thought
Yeah.
Des was going to say
Yeah.
he's out of character because it was incredibly accurate.
Yeah, it wasn't only Ronaldo on target in
Straight
that game.
down the gob. It was disgusting.
Yeah, it was.
It was disgusting.
It was rough. It was like at least.
It is disgusting, and I hate seeing spitting in a game. I hate it, and it's terrible because a lot of the time, it repulses me more than so many other horrible things in the worst side of football. But we are going to ask the question.
I knew there was
on
a
the
but
locker
coming
room.
here.
We do have to ask the question, why is it so hated, spitting incidents? You've actually seen former players come out and say, I'd rather be punched in the face than be spat on. I'd rather take a really nasty tackle than be spat on. Would you really rather, listen, I'm not condoning spitting at all. So we're asking, though, why everyone hates spitting so much? And I'm not saying that I don't either, I do. But it
No, I
seems
get
to be
you.
less,
Yeah,
less
it's such a
acceptable
visceral
and-
reaction
yeah.
to spitting.
Yeah,
Like the
and a
elbow
nasty
is like
two-footed
people
tackle.
tut, but the spitting is like
It is, it's rank.
it is rank.
Who was the player again that he spat at? And why did he not punch him in the face?
It was
Francesco.
Eusebio Di Francesco's son,
Why,
Federico.
why is he looking around? Oh, referee. Well, just knock him out. You're going to get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to the suspension committee. Just knock him out.
You're not. Don't condone violence.
Knock him out. Punch him as hard as you can.
I think he
that is the
came
most
off-
disgusting thing you can do.
Lord
and
only
he's just going to
knows
stand there.
what was said between these two players that led up to that incident. But I think Di Francesco comes off, he looks all right. You know, he didn't react to it.
It is obviously hard because when the red mist comes, the red mist comes. And
oh, Des knows what the red mist is.
And you, I'm sure.
No, not as much as
Someone
Des.
spat in me.
What would you do, Des?
I don't know.
But you do wonder, and it is sad because if it was something that, you know, will get Federico Di Francesco into trouble too, if it was something really bad, then you just hope for Douglas Costa that he could learn his lesson by holding back, which is easier said than done in the moment, and making sure to say afterwards, well, I was really angry because this player said this. But nothing's been said like that so far, and that makes me wonder why he didn't apologise to him if something is going to come out.
And yeah, so they're talking about the ban he's going to receive, and like you said, it's like they're amplifying the ban because there's saliva involved, but there's an elbow to the face and a headbutt that preceded that. Like, it's strange the way.
It's a good point.
The way we measure these things.
You wonder, like, there's no rule on it, right? There's nothing in the rule book that talks about spitting specifically and saying that it's worse than an elbow or a punch or anything else. So I wonder how they do evaluate that.
The only type of spitting you are allowed to do in the Serie A is the Kevin Prince Boateng style spitting lyrics.
Oh, there we go.
That's it.
Yeah.
Should we move on?
Tumbleweed. Okay, did you see that?
So very quickly, because we are flagging a little bit.
Inter lost to Parma. It was a stunner from Federico Di Marco. It was Parma's first win over Inter in San Siro in 19 years, but there were lots of changes for Inter. They do have a Champions League coming up this week, and he did make rotations, and players like Icardi didn't start this game. Napoli beat Fiorentina. Carlo Ancelotti said that he changed his system up, went for a 4-4-2 almost to beat Fiorentina, has been back at the drawing board during the international break, and Lorenzo Insigne got the only goal in that game.
Very good, yeah. And also Roma failed to put their early lead to good use, ended up drawing 2-2 with Chievo.
And it means?
And Chievo are now only -1 point,
well,
crawling their way back to 0.
After some story.
Yeah. So yeah, they are the worst team in Europe, despite having drawn 2 games so far this season.
And Quagliarella scored again.
Exactly.
In the Super League, Alvaro Negredo?
Yeah, Alvaro Negredo of Besiktas has hinted to the press that he's on his way to the United Arab Emirates. However, his club president found that surprising and said he's going nowhere. So
you're staying in Besiktas?
So it looks like and when you come to Besiktas, that means you're staying there.
It's like when Maradona signed on as a coach in Mexico, and he's already the chairman of Dinamo Brest. Good man, Diego. How are you going to manage that?
What club?
Dorados.
Oh no, but what was the club that you just said before?
Dinamo Brest.
Okay. LG.
Can someone please get Kay a taxi?
LG Elmas.
Pamela Anderson talk, everyone.
Philip Cocu.
Excuse me? Excuse me.
This is smutty.
Who did you say?
Philip Cocu's job was reported to be on the line because things hadn't been going well at Fenerbahce as well while we are on the Turkish wrap. But the young Elif Elmas, the wonder kid, after coming on as a sub, scored the only goal of the game for him, Macedonian wonder kid. He's one to look out for. We've probably mentioned him before, so make sure you look out for him as I get rid of this smutty mind of mine. MLS.
MLS. Zlatan, I suppose, broke the internet temporarily with his 500th goal for club and country with
3-0 down.
A goal that only he could score, right?
Exactly. 3-0 down, verge of half-time. LA Galaxy need to win the game. They get back to 3-0, Toronto end the win, but that is the most ridiculous. I believe it's called a roundhouse kick. I didn't know that.
I know that it's called that in martial arts.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great way of describing it, actually.
Yeah. It's like he just completely swatted the ball like you would with your hand, except it was with he was on his tippy toes like you do. Did you do ballet when you were younger?
Yeah.
What's it called when you're on your tippy toes? I don't know. It's whatever it's called. He's on one leg on his tippy toe, and he somehow manages to swing his whole body and score in that way. Remarkable. 500 goals, joins the elite crew of Leo Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, the only 3 active players to reach that milestone. Elsewhere in MLS, an absolute cracker of a game between DC United in their new stadium and the Red Bulls. It was brilliant, end to end. DC taking the lead 3 times. Bradley Roy Phillips nearly single-handedly pegging them back on 3 separate occasions. It finishes 3-3. The Red Bulls needed to win for a supporter shield chase against Atlanta, whereas DC are on the verge of a playoff spot, and they needed to kind of pick up all 3 points. And it was just a brilliant, brilliant game.
Yeah, no one came out of it that happy, even after scoring getting his hat trick. Bradley Phillips looked
he was annoyed in the post-game interview. He was frustrated. Rooney was very good. Luciano Costa has been the best player in MLS since July. You could argue him and Joseph Martinez. But elsewhere, the biggest storyline, which is getting pushed to the side because of Zlatan, is Seattle Sounders have won 9 games in a row. That's already an MLS best since they won 7, I believe. Now it's 9. And they don't have the most talented squad out there. They just have really good balance. Rui Diaz has come in, who's been sensational. Huge credit to Brian Schmetzer and everything that he's done with Seattle Sounders. And elsewhere in MLS, one final thing I'll say is that as great as some of the games were, you had a game in Colorado where the Rapids have no chance of making the playoffs. Pretty much no one at the game. They say there was like 12 or 14,000 at the game. There wasn't. Chicago Fire or Orlando was like a training game. And that's what happens when you've got no pressure at the end of a season and teams are not going to make the playoffs. It's such a shame. It's really such a shame. And I love the way MLS is put together. I love the suspense of not knowing who's going to win a title. And I like the playoff system. Certainly when you look at the Bundesliga, Liga, and Serie A right now, you'd say you'd prefer the suspense at the end. But you can't have meaningless games at the end of a season. You just cannot have that. It's not good for the product.
Totally agree. Yeah. And it's a hard thing to get around, isn't it? Without having the fear of going down a division, like that's kind of the sticking point, isn't it? Like
the issue with the culture here, though, is, guys, that you mentioned promotion relegation, you're seen as a hater. You're instantly blackballed, and that should not be the case. There should be a healthy dialogue where you're allowed to discuss what might be best for the game of soccer in this country. Major League Soccer has done tremendous things. When I first started working in MLS in 2012, the league is nowhere near what it is today. The introduction of an LAFC in Atlanta, certain different coaches throughout the league, some of the players that have come in since then, like a Jovinko, it's gone to a new level as a whole. But yet, help the league. There has to be ways to improve and stop certain owners from the league from not spending and just sitting on their brand that's increasing in value each and every year as the likes of an LA or a Toronto and Atlanta take the league to another level. Correct. Yeah. There has to be some sort of way to push clubs like Chicago, like Orlando, Colorado Rapids, and there's a few others as well that are just sitting down the bottom and they're not making the playoffs, and their fans cannot be happy with that.
No, true. All right,
that's my rant for the day.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'm sure we'll return to it as well. We usually do when it comes to promotion relegation topics here in this country.
It's a never-ending chat.
It is. Power ranking time, and we'll start in at number 10. Did I just skip ahead? No?
No, that's absolutely fine. Like at number 10, yeah.
Quagliarella is on fire. Your defence is terrified. A goal and assist this time around for the Sampdoria captain in a 5-0 romp over Frosinone.
That's it. Romp underlined.
Ousmane Dembele. Can I just do that every time?
He's really going to try and make that catch on, isn't he?
I just love it. I love it. Dembele, second match winner of the season for him. He's been absolutely incredible for Barcelona this season, and he's fitting in lovely alongside Suarez and Messi.
Number 8, Chievo, who were docked points this week. Started the weekend -2 points, crawled back to -1 after a 2-2 draw with Roma. Well done, the Flying Donkeys.
He's been taking a selfie.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly.
Are you busy there, Kev?
I was taking a selfie of us. You ready? Ready? 3, 2, 1. Smile.
In at number 7.
In at number 7, we've got Zlatan, 500th goal with that roundhouse kick against Toronto. Congratulations to Zlatan Ibrahimovic, an absolute legend who does yoga.
And a lot more by that. The most agile goal scorer in world football, surely, without a doubt.
And now, because of him, we know about a team called Toronto FC.
Yeah.
Because before that happened, I was completely unaware that
I'd even
they
been
existed.
there and I didn't even know about them. I'd even been in that stadium and everything.
Yeah,
anyway.
If they have players, Michael Bradley, I'd never heard of him, Josie Altidore.
Someone said they did one big, but...
like they're a team.
Anyway, hot tubs, pitch side, French football, bringing that to proceedings in the Caen game, and we condone that. We like it. That's in at number 6.
Next up is the 15th most interesting thing that happened in the game between Juventus and Sassuolo. Ronaldo ends his Serie A drought with a nice brace. What's that? His 400th league goal in the process.
That's correct.
Remarkable.
Yeah, number 4, Nîmes taking Real Betis' crown as Europe's most entertaining team. The Ligue 1 side, newly promoted Ligue 1 side, had been involved in a 4-3-1 win, 3-1 win, 1-0 defeat, 4-2 belter with PSG, and then their latest instalment was 3-3 this weekend. Belter, great team to watch.
I wish you'd have told us some more numbers.
I was just getting confused there.
Yeah.
I was never any good
You
at
want more
maths
numbers?
in school.
In at number 3, PSG's Air Jordan UEFA Champions League kit. If I could pick up this mic and drop it, I would, but I'd probably get into trouble. So we will say we like those.
Very good. Number 2, Manchester City's mascots over the weekend with a combined age of 200. Sisters Olga, 98 years old, and sister Vera, 102 years old. Accompanied the players out into the pitch before they drubbed Fulham 3-0.
Imagine the moment when Aguero scores a few years ago to win the league title, what they would have been going through. To see
Olga
Manchester City.
and Vera.
Love Olga and Vera, new fans here on Football Crazy.
Number 1.
Number 1, we have got the champions!
And the Europa League.
We're back.
It's back. We can't wait
Big
to
time.
talk about it. Thanks so much for joining us for another Football Crazy. We will all be back together again at the same time and the same place next week.
Thanks for joining, yeah.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.